Evelyn Marsh was scrolling through the family group chat the morning of her 50th wedding anniversary, waiting for someone to say something, and instead found 43 unread messages about balloon colors for her granddaughter's 6th birthday party. She was 71 years old, married to Walter for 50 of those years, in a quiet suburb outside Providence where she'd raised 3 kids who now had kids of their own. She read every message twice, thinking she'd missed something. She hadn't. Nobody had mentioned the date at all. Walter found her sitting at the kitchen table with her phone face down, not saying much. He didn't need her to explain. 50 years, and between the two of them, they'd shown up for every single one of their kids' milestones, every recital, every graduation, every hospital visit, every house move on a weekend they could have spent resting. They never once expected a parade for it. But somewhere in 50 years of always going second, Evelyn realized she'd quietly started believing this one, at least, would be remembered. It wasn't cruelty. Nobody had done anything wrong on purpose. That almost made it worse. Being forgotten by accident felt like proof of exactly how much room they took up in everyone else's lives. None. Walter didn't say much either. He just went to the hall closet, pulled down an old suitcase, and asked her one question. "Do you still remember the name of that inn?" 4 hours later, they were checking into the same small coastal inn in Maine, where they'd spent their honeymoon 50 years earlier. The paint a different color now, the dock rebuilt twice over, but the same view of the water they remembered from the one photo they still had framed in the hallway at home. At dinner that first night, an older man at the next table did a double take at Walter and said his name out loud like he couldn't believe it. Harold, an old friend of Walter's from the shipyard, retired out this way 20 years back. Harold pulled up a chair before either of them could object, and for the next hour, he told stories neither of them expected to hear, about how often Walter's old co-workers still brought him up, how the whole crew still called him the fairest foreman on the docks, how Harold's own wife still talked about the beautiful, quiet way Evelyn used to run the shipyard holiday dinners like they were nothing at all. It wasn't flattery. It was just two people finding out, 50 years in, that they'd mattered more to more people than they usually let themselves believe on an average Tuesday at home. Back in Providence, their daughter Carol was the one who finally checked her phone at 6 that evening and realized nobody had heard from her parents all day. No anniversary post, no call, nothing. She called the house. No answer. She called Evelyn's cell. It went to voicemail. Panic set in fast, the kind that comes from guilt as much as worry, and Carol was in her car within 20 minutes, driving 2.5 hours up the coast on a hunch because she suddenly remembered the name of the inn from an old photo album she'd flipped through as a kid 100 times. She found them just after sunset, down on the same stretch of beach from their wedding day. Walter in his old suit jacket he'd somehow packed, Evelyn in a blue dress, a stranger from the inn taking their photo in almost the exact pose from the picture on the mantel back home. Carol stood there for a second before either of them noticed her, and when Evelyn finally looked up and saw her daughter's face, not angry, just stricken, nobody said anything for a moment at all. There was no blow-up, no lecture. Carol just walked over, sat down in the sand next to her mother and said, "We forgot. I'm so sorry we forgot." Evelyn didn't make her feel worse about it. She just told her the truth, that it wasn't really about the one day. It was about noticing, in general, that they'd become the people who showed up for everyone else and rarely got shown up for in return. They drove home together the next morning, Carol in the passenger seat of her own car, and Walter following behind with Evelyn beside him, and by the time they got back, something had shifted quietly in the family group chat. A standing note now, every year, reminding everyone. April 14th, Mom and Dad's anniversary, first, before anything else gets planned. 50 years, and it took one accidentally forgotten anniversary to teach an entire family what should have been obvious the whole time. If you could go back for one day and quietly disappear like they did, where would you go? Tell me below.